That was me and my bro. That is for you and me.
Oh,
I'll just. But how can you hear me but not hear the music?
yeah, I
How does
know.
that work?
It's because it had to pick it up. I think the volume has to be loud enough to pick it
Right.
up. And I think the thing was breaking up as well. Yeah, I did speak to
Right.
Phantom earlier on today, and
Yeah.
I've sent her the code. So she didn't say she wouldn't be able to attend. So maybe she'll join us later.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll just do the introduction and then we can carry on. So
Okay.
welcome to the Alien Spaceship with my bro, Trevor Gear, and myself. Right, sorry, let's do that again. So welcome to the Alien Spaceship with myself, Emmy Hikins, and
And me, Trevor Gear,
yes. And
brother
so,
and cuz.
so Trevor, where did you get that scarf from?
All
What sort
right.
of scarf?
I thought you'd never ask, actually. Well, I go to football to see my team, Crystal Palace,
All
which is
right,
a team. It's quite a long way from where I live, but I've been going there for a long time,
right.
and so it means going into the southern outskirts of London. But Crystal Palace is there, and they're a bit of a struggle this season. But on Monday night, we had a home game against
Manchester
your
United.
team in a way, Manchester United, and we gave them an absolute thrashing 4-0. So I thought the least I can do is to wear my Palace scarf on the Alien Spaceship. But yeah, it was a great game, and really Manchester United have fallen a long way, which is a shame for them. But yeah, Palace are doing pretty well, pretty well. So I can take
Yeah,
the scarf off now because it's a bit warm.
yeah. Do you know, you said that in a true football fan way. I don't know how else to put it, but you said that with
I know
so much
what you mean.
pride.
Yeah.
There was pride in it. There was pride when you said it, the way you said it as
Well,
well.
it's a big deal. It's always been a big deal for any team to beat Man United. I mean,
Yeah,
in many respects, they're probably the biggest, certainly most famous club in the world.
yeah.
They always have been, and so I mean, we've beaten them before. In fact, this season, Palace, we went up to Manchester and beat them 1-0. So we've done the double on them this year, which is quite well, the first time we've ever done that. So yeah, it's a good feeling to have 4 goals go past them, and I mean it may be that their manager gets sacked as a result of a culmination of bad results, but I don't wish that. But no, it was great game to watch, great
Yeah.
game to be there.
Uh, I mean, I was watching the news this morning, and it said about they were repeating it on the news today, and I don't know if you know this, Trevor, but I am a Man U fan.
I didn't know. I'll put my scarf on again now. No, I didn't know you were a Man U
Yeah,
fan. That's
yeah.
good.
So when I watched it today, I thought, why are they repeating it? But actually, they were repeating it because I think they might be thinking of getting rid of Eric Van Ted.
Yeah, Eric
Yes,
Ten. Oh
yeah.
God.
I think it's at his day now. That's it. That's it for him now. I think.
Yeah,
You never know.
I
Anyway.
think you're right. I think
Yeah.
you're right. And ever since Alex Ferguson went, which was 2013, a long time ago now,
Yeah.
they've had a succession of managers who just haven't really done the job. I mean, it was
No.
probably impossible to go there as a new manager and live up to what Ferguson did. I mean, he was all conquering in
Yeah.
terms of trophies and everything else. So they've all had a tough job. But in
Yeah.
another way, I think they're getting rid of managers maybe too quickly. They've got to give them a bit of a chance to see
Uh,
what they can do.
yeah. I think that's inevitable in football, is it?
Nowadays,
Yeah. You've got
yeah,
to be
there's
performing.
no,
You can't be losing
yeah,
matches,
no.
especially against Crystal Palace. You know, I
Why?
don't mean
What's
I
it?
don't mean that in any.
What do you mean? How dare you say that, especially against right, I shan't forget that. It's a bit of I'll get back at you on that one, definitely. I just say 4-0, all right?
Yeah, rub it in, Trevor. Yeah, man.
I'll be dropping that in throughout the program, throughout the podcast.
in the true spirit of football. In the true spirit of football, Trevor. Yeah, man. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I think he's not doing very well, is it? You know, I mean, he's managing, but it's not really. It's not really, but it's been lucky actually, because every time he loses consecutively, he then wins a game, you know, and then everyone stops talking about it. But I think this is the last straw now. I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. It always has been. Just what effect does a manager have on a football team or in any sport, I suppose, but particularly football, because you know, someone like Alex Ferguson, he was there for, since 1986. So that was 26 years.
Yeah.
He was there, which is a heck of a long time, almost unmatched. And he was he was of the old school, very tough. So the players actually were probably frightened of him at half time and after the match if they hadn't performed. I mean, he was known to sort of kick teacups around and throw things in the dressing room. So I think that sort of brought out something in the players, and he won the championship so many times and the Champions League. But interestingly, nowadays, a lot of people say, well, at the moment, Man United players, they're not playing for the manager. And a lot of it must be down to players. If they lose their motivation or they don't respect their club or manager, then you can't blame a manager for that. So it's quite a debating point. Just what impact does a manager really have?
Yeah.
It's a bit like the conductor, just saying finally, just the conductor of an orchestra. You know, you can watch them conducting with their baton. And I always tend to observe that you look at the musicians, the violinists and the cellists, and none of them are really looking at the conductor, but obviously he's there to keep the pace, the tempo and so on. But I just always have a feeling that if the conductor wasn't there, they would still be producing that same quality of music. Now maybe that's wrong, but I've always felt it's a bit like that.
I don't think so actually, because you know he sort of guides the pace of the or the tone or whatever, you know, whatever he does. I don't know what they do there, you know. But I think it's quite pivotal his role in, you know, whatever is produced musically on the stage. I think, right. Well, that's an interesting debate. That would they still be able to then go on and do what they. So what's his role then, Trevor? What do you think is his role then, the conductor?
Well, I mean, if you look at someone who I think is brilliant, you probably heard of him, Andre Rieu.
Right. That's
R-I-E-U. I think I'm not sure what his nationality is. It might be Swiss or something. It's certainly European.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen his shows. They're often on television. Right. He goes around various countries with a huge orchestra, all on the stage, effectively, on a large open-air stage very often.
Yeah.
And he will conduct them, and then he plays the violin himself. And I've watched a few of these over the last few years on TV, and they're really quite brilliant. I mean, he has a lot of humour in it, which is good. Yeah. And his orchestra people, they play up to him. So it's all nicely choreographed, really. And I think in his case, he really does bring out the music from the musicians, not least with the timing. But it's a good question you ask. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear an orchestra with the conductor, and then he doesn't do it for the second time, and seeing if they just do the same thing. Because obviously these musicians we see in these various orchestras, they're top flight musicians. So they will know the pace and so on. But I guess to answer your question, a conductor's job is to bring it all together so that they start at the same time, they finish at the same time, and generally out of the corner of maybe in their peripheral vision, they'll see him waving his baton, and that in itself is enough to keep the tempo.
Yeah. I mean, if they didn't rehearse it beforehand, would his being there still make any significant difference? I think, because all right, okay, so they've rehearsed it beforehand, I'm hoping, and then when they go on stage, he sort of starts it by whatever he does, and then he ends it when he goes with or the wand or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, so if they got a group of professionals together that hadn't rehearsed, but obviously they know their roles, and they say, well, all right, so we're playing this particular tune today, maybe a Beethoven or so whatever, would they then still know what to do? Would they know when to start? Would they know when to change pace? Would they, that's I think that's where he comes in.
Yeah,
to change.
He's there all the time.
Yeah,
when he's needed, he's there, I guess.
To change the pace and obviously raise the tempo or bring down the tempo or whatever. It's an interesting debate that I'm just thinking of it, and he also makes me think about human beings as well, in general. I mean, we'll come back to the football manager thing in a minute, but I'm just thinking about human beings in general. When you look at human beings in general, do you then think, well, we can individually do our thing? Perhaps we don't need a government. Perhaps if everybody minded their own space, and because like in a workplace, you're going to work, you know what you're going to be doing. Do you then need somebody at the top, like a CEO or whatever, to then say what, to then do what? If everybody knows their jobs, and then they then go in and do their jobs, would there be chaos? For instance, would they? At what point does somebody say, you know what, you're supposed to be doing that, or because if something goes wrong at a place of work, you then look for whoever is in charge, don't you? You think, well, where's the manager? Who's the supervisor? Who's this? Who's that? And usually they would be the one that would carry the brunt of the whole. And my conclusion is, just looking at or talking about this, the analogy of the whole thing. My conclusion is that human beings need guidance. I think we do.
We need leadership. That's right, guidance or leadership. Because probably, as you say, without it, there would be chaos.
It would be,
but equally, let's face it, without going political, we are in a time in our country and probably other countries around the world where political leadership is not particularly there very much, and maybe that's why there is a lot of chaos in the world at the moment. Easy to say those things, but you do need leadership in life, whether, as you say, it's a football team or running a company. You need someone with ideas and really the drive to push people to do the job, to actually remain motivated. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I find with my music, I do generally, well, more than generally, I always feel motivated to be doing more, to be, writing more tunes and so on. And that's good because I've got that drive within myself. But that said, there are times when I might think, well, I'll carry on working on a song later on, and I can't be bothered. I think, no, it's not working today, so I give it up. But that's not often. Generally, I feel quite empowered to do what I want to do with the music.
Yeah. But when you look at it, Trevor, would you rather have it the other way? Would you rather have somebody that is not breathing down your neck, but somebody that is sort of like a motivating factor or influence or personal, that then comes to you and says, right, Trevor, we need 5 songs this week, or we need at least 1 song in the next 3 months, you know. Would you rather have that, or would you rather do it on your own? I'm just thinking.
Well, yeah, so I think it's a very good question. And it comes down in all sorts of things in life that we do, whether it's an art form like music or anything else. We all need to feel motivated and a bit driven, because I think in life that's the only way we're going to find a degree of success on something. And I've said this before. In fact, I put it into songs that, you know, musically, I work much better when I've got that motivating feeling. And you know, you know the word muse, you know, someone, which is an interesting subject in itself when you look at the stories of what that really means. But yeah, to have someone who just, I don't know whether you just want to impress them. It's just a thing that you feel you want to raise your game every time. So I think that's very important musically. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be as driven as I am.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I think it's good. You must have some sort of inspiration, some sort of drive to make you do the work.
Yeah. You know, I'm just thinking about the word muse. What does that mean? Is that like,
Muse?
yeah, somebody that motivates you? Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah. It's almost always a muse. MUSE is almost always a woman to a male artist.
Right.
I guess it could be to a female artist as well, but it's whether a painter or a musician mainly.
Right.
And as I say, it's quite an interesting subject altogether,
Yeah.
where a musician or a painter, when they've got a muse, they bring out their best work, and there's always this wish, this desire to get better, because I suppose the idea is you want to impress that person, but I think it sort of goes deeper than that. There's just something that makes you react positively to someone's influence in that way, even if they're not necessarily consciously trying to provide that.
Yeah.
But it can happen, and it does happen. And so, yes, someone who's a muse is a very powerful figure in the work of an artist, of a musician or a painter, particularly.
Right.
So, yeah, it's
Okay.
interesting stuff.
I mean, I can't say I haven't heard that word before. I'm just thinking, where have I heard that word? But I didn't quite know what it meant. I just thought, you know, all right, that's a nice English word, but you know, I didn't know what it meant. All right. Yeah. So I was just thinking, before I started writing music, Trevor, before I even started Deepstuff Records, I used to really love making music, but I just didn't know how to go about it. I didn't have any idea, but I just loved it. I loved being around the studio music and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, I have been since I was a child or a kid. And there's a guy called Black Dragon, and this is in no way a promotion for him, but there's a guy called Black Dragon, and he's from um, Edmonton in London. So he's from Edmonton in London. And he's a producer. He's a really good producer. I don't know why he stopped making music. I can't find him online anymore. I don't know what happened. But he was very good. And I used to always look out for his latest releases, you know. Be it him doing the song himself or producing somebody else, but he was always active on Facebook. And I'm going back 2009, 2010. And I used to really admire him. I used to really look up to him, like, oh yeah, this guy's really, is really utilizing his talent or creative side or whatever. And I didn't see myself in that capacity. I never did. I knew I could do it if I put my mind to it, but I just never attempted it. And one time I almost fell out with him because I used to message him to say, oh, I love this, I love that, I'm really feeling this beat. And one time he released a song, so I could have been his muse. And so one time he released a song, and I just didn't get it. I thought, this guy's so brilliant, he's released this. And I messaged him, of course, and I said, bro, I'm a big fan of what you do. You know that already, right? But this song, I'm not feeling it. And he got angry. He got really angry. He got angry, and he never replied. He never replied for a long time. He never replied to any of my messages. And then one time he replied to me, and I said, how have you been? What's happened? And he said, don't ever criticize my work.
Really?
Yeah, really? Yeah. And I thought to myself, he knows I'm a fan. He knows that he knows that I'm rooting for him. Why is it then not liked? He liked the positive side of what I'd say when I say it, some positive. But he couldn't take the negative side, and I thought, and that sort of taught me a lesson. This guy's put in a lot of work into what he does. Granted, he's not going to have it 100% all the time. That's impossible. Obviously, he's going to appeal to certain people and probably not appeal so much to the other set of people. And I happen to fall into that category at the time. And I went back to him and I said, listen, I really apologize for this, I'm sorry, but, it's just the way I felt. Because I went back and I dwelled on it, and I sort of thought what could make him so angry about, what I said. But he never said anything nasty.
No.
He never said anything nasty. He just said that, and I thought, all right. And then he disappeared. He disappeared from SoundCloud. He disappeared from everywhere, and I've searched for him and I couldn't find him. But anyway, the moral of the story was, at the time, respect what people do, because they're putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
However it comes out, let them be the one to, then work on it or whatever, do whatever they do and improve on it. If you're going to support somebody, just support them, and because any negative comment could actually bring them down, or if they're not very strong-willed, and that's what I learned from it, and till this day, I try not to say anything negative to anybody, to say what you're doing is this or that, and I just look at it. And I've come to learn it. I've come to appreciate that mindset in my own line of work as well. When I started producing music, in fact, I had a girlfriend at the time called Kylie, and I recorded my very first song, and it was called "I Want to Know," and it's still on. That original, that very track is still on YouTube till this day.
Right.
Yeah. And
I want to know. I'll have a look at that. I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know. And she had to listen to it, and she laughed. And I thought, that's it. She had to listen to it. She laughed. And I thought, that's it. We're done. In my head, I thought, we're done.
Good for you. How dare she? So was that the end of it then?
Well, it wasn't the end of it, but that was how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
And that relationship never lasted, because I thought, well, how can you be with somebody that does not support what you do? I thought that in my head, and I thought, you know what, if somebody's going to be with you, they've got to be supportive in every aspect.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but that's just how I felt at the time. And I used to look back at it, and I'll think to myself, well, you know what? She was only being honest. But it was somebody that was close to me. If it was somebody online somewhere, you know, I would have done, yeah, you know what? People are entitled to their own opinion. And sometimes I felt like, was she saying it to dissuade me from, you know, pursuing my passion or something? And that's another discussion. But that's just what I was able to get from that, what happened with that guy called Black Dragon, and then in comparison to myself. And since then I've just tried to and I almost made I made that mistake again. There was a guy that sent me a track some few months back, and he'll send me all these rough recordings and stuff like that, and he'd say, what do you think about this, what do you think about this? And but he wasn't a nice guy with the way that he said what he said. I don't know what's going on with him, you know, but sometimes it comes across very rude, you know, and as such, I sort of said to him, I said, well, you ought to go to the studio and record this. And I don't see anything wrong with that comment, do you? You ought to go to well, anyway, he took
get it done professionally.
Yeah. Well, he lashed out at me. He lashed out saying, "Oh, what do you mean you have to go to the studio and record it professionally? I only sent it to you as a demo. I know I'm going to go to the studio and record it." And I thought, "Yeah, man, don't send me tracks if you don't want my opinion."
That's the thing. I think people, particularly creative folk like ourselves, I think inevitably we're probably quite sensitive to other people's comments. Now, I think there's one or two ways to look at this. If I want someone's comments, first of all, I would normally ask for somebody who I think knows what they're talking about. That's the first thing. I would find it hard if someone just out of the blue said, "Well, I don't like that song," and you think, well, actually, what does that person know about it? Taste, you know, as they say, there's no accounting for taste. We all like different things. Some of us, you know, some music is universally popular, but inevitably we won't like everything that's out there. None of us will. But that shouldn't mean we go around just saying to someone who's written a song or made a recording, "Well, that's a load of rubbish," or laughing at it, because that would be, in my view, that would be quite offensive to do that. So I can respect someone who knows what they're talking about. If they're being constructive, I think constructive criticism in anything is a valuable benefit to a creative person. You know, you can't just sort of keep your head down and say, "Oh, I'm going to stick to my methods and I don't care what anybody says." So I think, you know, one has to be careful on that. But when we know, when I know, for example, what goes in, the hours that go in to getting the lyrics right, to perfecting a tune, and then the recording process, I'm not sure I'd take kindly to someone, you know, someone saying something that was just a throwaway remark. And thankfully, I can't recall that I've ever really had that. But yeah, I think that we're sensitive, and rightly so, I think, because we know what goes into the craft of making music. But inspiration is, as we say, is an important thing. And just one example of, I mean, I'm already sort of throwing around some ideas for my next 5 songs, which I'll be submitting to Medellin at some stage, a bit sooner than I usually do. I sort of think to myself, when I've done 5, I think, right, I'll get the next 5 done in 6 weeks. And then basically 6 months goes by. So, and it's not lack of doing it. I mean, it's just life creeps in. John Lennon said, I think, life is what happens when we're busy making other plans. And I think there's a lot of